Charles Barkley talking about the Caitlin Clark phenomenon and the people he blames for blowing this whole Caitlin Clark deal.
People believe what we say on television. Just because people don't like you or your personality, they can't get on TV and slander you. It's just total bullshit. These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan, they cannot have this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they try. What is going on here? And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. But these ladies, who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have this thing up.
Charles Barkley just dropped a bombshell on the WNBA. He's pointing fingers at the league's players, accusing them of sabotaging Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom. But is this really about jealousy, or is there more to the story? You might be wondering why we should care what Charles Barkley thinks. Well, he's not just any former NBA player. He's a basketball legend turned outspoken analyst. When Chuck talks, people listen. And this time, he's stirring up a storm in women's basketball. Here's the thing. Barkley claims WNBA players are green with envy over Caitlin Clark's success. He says their attitude is messing with her media coverage, but that's not all. He's also calling out the media for dropping the ball on Clark's story. You've got to wonder, could this drama actually hurt women's basketball? And what about Clark's future in the sport? Stick around because we're about to dive into the Clark-sized waves hitting women's basketball.
If Caitlin Clark somehow wins the WNBA championship this year, she will have put together the greatest rookie season in the history of professional sport. Include Caitlin Clark in the conversation, as I like to do, but we're also going to bring the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Caitlin Clark, Deion Sanders, all in the same boat with historical perspective and knowledge. And more than anything, I'm gonna blast the media.
Trust me, you don't want to miss this. You've heard about Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise, but did you know it's causing tremors in the WNBA? The league's stars are split. Some see her as the future, others as a threat. What's really behind this division, and could it change women's basketball forever? Caitlin Clark isn't just making waves, she's creating a tsunami in the world of women's basketball. Her recent achievements have catapulted her into the spotlight, and she's quickly becoming a household name. But with great success comes great scrutiny, and not everyone's cheering from the sidelines. Charles Barkley, never one to mince words, has dubbed Clark the biggest star in American sports. That's a bold claim, but Barkley doesn't stop there. He says she's the only one capable of taking nothing and making it something. It's high praise from a basketball legend, and it's got people talking. But here's where things get complicated. Barkley's pointing fingers at WNBA players, claiming some of them are green with envy over Clark's success. He says this petty jealousness is messing with her media coverage. It's a spicy take, and it's stirring up quite the debate in basketball circles. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, shouldn't WNBA players be excited about new talent? And you'd have a point. Some argue that the presence of WNBA stars actually boosts Clark's visibility. After all, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? This whole situation is like peeling back the layers of an onion. It's exposing some deeper issues in women's sports media, coverage, and player relationships. We're not just talking about one rookie and a bunch of pros. This is about the future of women's basketball and how it's presented to the world. Barkley's got another interesting take. He thinks the rivalry and tension created by media narratives could actually benefit Clark.
They've made Caitlin Clark more interesting. They've made Caitlin Clark the biggest star in American sports. They got this conversation wrong. The ladies, the active players in the WNBA, they haven't screwed up anything. Their little petty jealousy and sniping at Caitlin Clark is why 2 million people are tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball and to watch a bunch of other women blow layups every night.
How? By making her more interesting to viewers. It's like he's saying, bring on the drama, because in sports, sometimes conflict is what keeps fans glued to their screens. So what does all this mean for Caitlin Clark and women's basketball? Is this tension going to propel the sport to new heights, or is it a sign of trouble brewing? And how will Clark navigate these choppy waters as she transitions from college superstar to WNBA rookie? The spotlight's on Caitlin Clark, but who's controlling the narrative? Charles Barkley thinks the media fumbled big time. What if the real story isn't about Clark at all, but about how sports media shapes our heroes and villains? Barkley's not pulling any punches when it comes to the media's handling of Caitlin Clark. He's calling them out for dropping the ball on her story. But here's the kicker. It's not just about Clark. It's about the whole landscape of women's basketball and how it's presented to the world. Let's break it down. Barkley's got a bone to pick with how the media has been portraying certain players. Take Angel Reese, for example. During championship celebrations, some outlets painted her as the bad guy. Barkley's not having it. He thinks this kind of narrative undermines the positive buzz around Clark and creates unnecessary drama. But wait, there's more. Barkley's taking aim at a bigger target: racial narratives in sports. He argues that the media's obsession with these storylines, especially in the NFL, is taking away from what really matters: the game itself. It's like they're trying to stir up controversy instead of celebrating talent. You might be wondering, isn't conflict good for ratings? Sure, but Barkley's saying there's a line, and the media's crossed it. He's not mincing words.
The WNBA was nothing before Caitlin Clark, and she has made it into something. I know how great she is because of Caitlin Clark. The Arike Amagawali, and I'm sorry if I messed up the name, the girl in Dallas. That girl's a baller. These guys are all working off of platforms that were already built long before they got there, and they have not elevated that platform.
The media are the people that didn't do their job properly as it related to Caitlin Clark. That's a pretty heavy accusation, don't you think? So what's the fallout from all this? Well, Barkley's worried that these media-driven rivalries and controversies could be doing more harm than good. Instead of building up the sport, they might be tearing it down. And in women's basketball, where every bit of positive coverage counts, that's a big deal. Think about it. The way media portrays athletes can shape how we see them. One day, you're the golden girl. The next, you're the villain. It's a roller coaster, and Barkley's saying it's time to get off the ride. But here's where it gets really interesting. Barkley's not just talking about Clark or women's basketball. He's shining a light on a bigger issue: how media narratives can make or break a sport's appeal. When the focus is on drama instead of talent, everybody loses. Think the Caitlin Clark saga is just about women's basketball? Think again. It's opening up a can of worms that could change sports as we know it. What if the real problem isn't the players or the media, but something much bigger? Charles Barkley's criticism of the WNBA players' reaction to Caitlin Clark isn't just about one rookie sensation. It's shining a spotlight on a deeper issue in sports culture. Barkley's taking aim at the current generation of athletes, saying they're missing that competitive fire that made sports so exciting in the past. You might be wondering, what's changed? Well, Barkley thinks the media's got a lot to answer for. He's not pulling any punches when he says the media is actually destroying sports, not the actual competitors. It's a bold claim, but he's got some strong arguments to back it up. Remember when sports stars were larger than life? Barkley does, and he's not impressed with what he's seeing now. He's saying, we have a bunch of unlikable sports stars for the most part, and that's why they're not as popular, as relevant, as important as the previous generation. Ouch. But is he onto something? Here's where it gets really interesting. Barkley's not just talking about how athletes behave. He's pointing fingers at the media for how they cover sports. He thinks all this focus on racial narratives is taking away from what really matters: the game itself. It's like we're so busy talking about everything except the sport that we've forgotten why we loved it in the first place. But wait, there's more. Barkley's got a beef with how the media handles athlete behavior. He says, if the media didn't tolerate it, it would go away. It's like he's saying the media's given athletes a free pass, and now we're all paying the price with a less engaging sports environment. So what's the fallout from all this? Well, Barkley thinks we're losing something crucial in sports. Real competition, real tension has been removed, and that's a big deal. After all, isn't that what drew us to sports in the first place? Now, you might be thinking, is it really that bad? Maybe not. But Barkley's raising some important questions. Are we so focused on drama and controversy that we've forgotten about the thrill of the game? And if that's true, what does it mean for the future of sports? This isn't just about Caitlin Clark or the WNBA. It's about the soul of sports. It's about what happens when we prioritize headlines over highlights, controversy over competition, and it's got implications for every sport, from the biggest leagues to your local pickup game. Let's recap the Clark drama. We've got a rising star, some jealous players, and media fumbling the ball. But here's the thing, Clark's talent is undeniable. She's not just good, she's game-changing good. Barkley says Clark's the only one capable of taking nothing and making it something. That's huge. Her skills could shift the whole narrative back to what really matters: the game itself. But it's not just about Clark, it's about the future of women's basketball. How can everyone, fans, media, and players, work together to support rising stars without dissing the veterans? It's a tricky balance, but it's crucial. Think about it. If we can figure this out, we might just see women's basketball reach new heights. And isn't that what everyone wants?